Assalamu alaikum. Hello YouTube. I want to do a continuation of the Arabic course from Al-Madinah University. We already did the first lesson in the book. So we are going to do the second lesson. الدرس الثاني ذلك. So this time I'm going to try to use some screenshots of the PDF so that you can follow along, and also try to write and give some more examples. But first, what I want to do is I want to give some more examples from the first lesson, do a little bit of review, give you guys a little bit extra vocabulary. So, first lesson we went over هذا. That's how you write it handwritten, هذا, and with the suffix un on the word, meaning a or a. So we started, I believe, with هذا بيت. So هذا بيت. هذا بيت. So let's look at some other vocabulary that's pretty common, and I'll try to give you some classical things just to start out with right away. So here we have jannatun, jannatun, and you can see this here is called a dhamma. I don't know how well. That right there is called a dhamma, which means you're going to hold that consonant longer. So instead of jannatun, you say jannatun, jannatun, and literally, linguistically, it means a garden. But in Islamic terminology, it refers to paradise or to heaven, and the Garden of Eden. So jannatun, jannatun, jannatun. And you know, Arabic speaking cultures are still very traditional cultures, and they use the religious terminology a lot in day-to-day speech, like insha'Allah or God willing, when they're talking about something they're going to do in the future or something that might happen in the future. Often if you ask them, how are you? كيف حالك? They'll respond, Alhamdulillah, praise to God, meaning, you know, I'm good, fine. Or بخير Alhamdulillah, something like that. And even the Christians who live in the Middle East, even the Arabic speaking Christians, like the Coptics in Egypt, or many of the Christians in Iraq, Syria, Palestine that are Arabic speaking, they also use the same terminology. They say Alhamdulillah, they say Insha'Allah. So this isn't something that's just specific to like Muslim Arabs, but even the Jewish Arabs, they say those types of things. And for those of you who don't know, there are Jewish Arabs, historically and now. So also, you know, you could, a word you probably already heard is Muslim. So you could say Muslimun in Arabic. So you could say هذا Muslimun, this is a Muslim. And for female, you would say هذه المسلمة. And we're going to get to that later in the book, because whenever something's female, they'll say هذه. But one of the things that I want to go over as well, you know, this book is for learning standard and classical Arabic, this Al-Madinah book. So it's focused on literary Arabic and the modern standard Arabic. And in modern standard Arabic, you say هذا, هذا. However, in many of the dialects, you'll hear them say haza, haza, because they'll replace the dal with the Z sound, so you get haza. And they do this especially in the Levant, which is, like Syria, Lebanon, Palestine. And then also, you'll hear them say it like this. Hada. Hada with a D. Hada. So that I hear a lot more in Saudi Arabia, but I've also heard it from, some Iraqis, some Jordanians, and other people on the Arab Peninsula. Hada. So those are two variations to watch out for. I think those are probably the most common ones that I hear is haza and hada. So even if they're not speaking Fusha, you should, still be able to understand. What's some other vocabulary words that I could share? And this will also help you to pronounce the sounds and learn how to, read it good with all the sounds too. Okay, so first one we have here is ayatun. Ayatun. And that linguistically means a sign, but it also means a verse, like a verse of the Quran. So it can either mean a verse or a sign. Ayatun. This one is rahmatun. 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 And that means a mercy, as in a merciful thing, or something that is a mercy to you. So a mercy. A mercy. Go over some more here for you. I hope you guys can read my handwriting just fine. I'm trying to be as formal as possible in my handwriting so that it looks the most similar to the Arabic print that you see in the Al-Madinah books. But if you did look at the lesson earlier, I did show some variations in the way things are handwritten. So, and some of these vocabularies might be covered later on in the Al-Madinah series, but I just figure it's good to have some vocabulary to start out with right away so you can speak with people and understand right away. So ajrun, ajrun. And this means a reward. Ajrun. So ajr. And if you know anyone who's Muslim, they might hear this. You might hear them say this word in the average day-to-day talking. Oh, like I'm going to get some ajr if I give, charity. So ajrun, a reward. And, typically it refers to a reward from God, but it can, just be a reward in general. So this is beledun, beledun, which means a land, beledun. A land. So you're talking about like a piece of land, or you could say beledi, my land, or belad, which means like, it's more like plural. So beledun. This, it sounds kind of strange in English to say a land, but in Arabic this is used very commonly. You'll hear it quite often when people are referring to their country, their homeland, or their particular town or village, or their farmland, and those types of things. So it's very common. And you really feel like when you're speaking Arabic, you're speaking a very traditional language. And in other words, it's a very still ancient way of thinking, and it's a very, it's an old language. It's not like English. English is fairly modern when you look at the history of the world, where Arabic is an extremely ancient language. So, This is a good one to know. Adabun. Adabun. Adabun means a punishment. Adabun. Adabun. A punishment. Let's see. And this is fawzun. 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 And this can mean either a reward or a victory. Most commonly victory, but it can also mean like a reward. Victory. And it doesn't necessarily mean like victory as in you're fighting and you're victorious over another army or something like that. It's much more in a general sense. Like today was a victorious day because I got all my homework done, you know. So it's a much more broader meaning. Here's a pretty relevant word to know, pretty common word in every language. Ooh, kind of butchering it here. Let me start over. Kind of hard, a little bit harder and different to write on a whiteboard, you know. Let's start over. So yawmun, which means a day. Yawmun, a day. Yawmun. And I think that's good for supplemental vocabulary. Moving on to lesson 2. الدرس الثاني ذلك. So we went over هذا, and هذا means this. So now we're going to do ذلك. Make sure I'm spelling it right here. There's couple different variations in spelling, but for the most part it's the same. So this is ذلك. 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 And I told you that sometimes in the dialect the thal is replaced by a z. So sometimes you'll hear it referred to as ذلك with a z. ذلك. ذلك. But ذلك. So the first one it says here is ما ذلك. So let's put a ma in front of it. ما ذلك. ما ذلك. ما ذلك. So remember before, when you say ما هذا, it's a question. What is this? What is this? So ما ذلك. ما ذلك. ما ذلك. So ذلك means that. We did this, now we're talking about that. So what's that? What's that? And I believe that Arabic is just like English, whereas when you're talking about this, you're talking about something in close proximity to your body, and that is something maybe a little bit farther away. I know in the Chinese language, you say chua, chua, for this, and they will use that to even refer to objects far away from them. So I don't think Arabic is like that. I think Arabic is more like English, where when you say that, you're talking about something a little bit farther away, or perhaps something that's owned by somebody else and not you, instead of saying this. So, ما ذلك. And it says ذلك najmun. So this is najamun. So this is a word we already went over. Najm, star. So ذلك النجم. And the next one is هذا مسجد وذلك البيت. هذا مسجد وذلك البيت. So this is a masjid and that's a house. هذا مسجد وذلك البيت. And then you're getting into some new vocabulary. هذا حسان. هذا حسان. هذا حصان وذلك الحمار وذلك الحمار. So هذا حصان وذلك الحمار. So that is a horse, or no, excuse me, this is a horse and that is a donkey. So one thing I want to note quick, for هذا and ذلك, these are only used for male nouns. Okay. So right now all the nouns we're going over are male. And we will get to the female later on in this series and part of the lessons of the book. I just want to make note that also these change when the word becomes plural. So instead of saying هذا, you would say هؤلاء. Instead of saying ذلك, you would say أولئك. So the grammar does get complicated fast, but for right now we are trying to keep it simple. So هذا حصان وذلك الحمار. أذلك الكلب. So remember, in the first lesson we had the prefix means a question marker, like أهذا بيت, is this a house? So here we have أذلك الكلب. أذلك الكلب. لا ذلك القط. ذلك القط. And I also talked about earlier how قط has a variation قطة. So you could also say ذلك القطة. So actually قطة would be kind of the female form, so you'd use the female, which is تلك قطة. But we'll get to that later. And then the next one is ما ذلك. ما ذلك. ذلك الصرير. ذلك الصرير. ذلك الصرير. And then it says من هذا ومن ذلك. من هذا ومن ذلك. So who is this and who is that? هذا مدرس وذلك الإمام. So here we have a new vocabulary, imam. And imam, you hear it a lot on TV. You hear it used quite a lot, and I think people really don't know what it means. They think it means like a religious leader in Islam, but it really has a different meaning than that, and it has various meanings depending on who you're talking to and in what context. So imam comes from a word, and I'm going to write it here for you. Amama. Amama. See, it's got the in front of it. Amama. And that means in front of. So you could say هذا بيت أمام مسجد. This house is in front of the masjid. So amama means in front of. And so imam is the one who's praying in front of the other people. Or literally just the person in front of the other people. So imam is usually just the person who leads prayer. So it's not indicative necessarily of someone who's learned in religion or a religious leader. So especially here in America, where things are a lot more convoluted and not so structuralized like some Muslim countries are, I see the media being tricked by people who claim to be an imam or a religious leader using the title of imam, when really if you go to that mosque, they're not the leader of the mosque, they're just the prayer leader, which some mosques make that distinction, where a sheikh is somebody who is learned. The word sheikh in Arabic, that's also a good vocabulary word we could go over. Let me write that for you, because it has a few different meanings as well. So here is sheikhun, 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 sheikhun. So sheikh, it literally means an old man, somebody who has gray hair. It also means somebody who's very learned, that they've completed everything as far as learning the religion. It also means a community leader or a community elder. So those were some of the very ancient uses. Was, someone who's older, an elder, a community leader, got the title of sheikh. And in the more modern Islamic context, it means someone who is learned in the religion. So someone could be an imam and not necessarily a sheikh, although oftentimes you'll see someone who's an imam is also a sheikh. So they are both. So that's an important word to know. It's also a word that people just use out of respect in like greetings. They'll say, Assalamu alaikum ya sheikh. Peace be upon you, O sheikh. And so they could be saying that to a 20-year-old who knows nothing about religion, and that's just a sign of respect. So it's a word that is used in many different ways, just like imam can be used in different ways also. In the Shia context, you have Sunnis and Shia, the two main groups in Islam. The Shia, when they say imam, they mean the leader of all Muslims. And in Sunni Islam, they refer to that as Khalifa. So they kind of have a different meaning about it. So now that we've gone over that word a little bit more in depth, the next part of the book says, مَا ذَلِكَ مَا ذَلِكَ ذَلِكَ حَجَرٌ ذَلِكَ حَجَرٌ ذَلِكَ حَجَرٌ. And the picture is a little bit ambiguous. I remember when I was first learning Arabic, I was very confused by this picture, and I said, what's that? I thought maybe it's like a chunk of ice, but actually hajar means stone or rock. So ذَلِكَ الْحَجَرٌ هذا سكر وذلك اللبن هذا سكر وذلك اللبن. So now it's saying this is sugar, or this is a sugar, and that is a milk. It sounds funny in English to put a in front of those things, but in Arabic that's what they do. So sukkar, sugar, and laban is milk. However, even modern standard Arabic and even the classical Arabic, in literary form only, the literary form, it even has dialects, believe it or not. So, Arabic is a complicated language, as I'm sure you'll soon find out. So, Lebanon, or Leban, in some areas, some parts of the Arab world means milk, and other parts of the Arab world it means yogurt. So they're both similar things, they're both dairy products, but some people use the word leban for milk. In other places they use the word halim for milk also. So I remember when I was a new Muslim I was kind of thrown off by that. So halim, and that is ha, lam, ya, mim, halim, to refer to as milk also, and leban is to refer to a yogurt drink. In English it's known as kefir. If you've ever had kefir, I love it. I think it's absolutely delicious. When I'm not fully vegan, because I often switch between being vegan and vegetarian, I will drink kefir. So the next part of the book is Iqra waktub. Iqra waktub. So read and write. So it's asking you to read these passages, and you notice there's no vowel markings on them. So هذا سكر وذلك اللبن. Or the proper pronunciation. Sorry, I shorten things because that's the way I'm used to speaking, and that's the way you'll see a lot of people often speak. هذا سكر وذلك اللبن. من ذلك؟ ذلك الإمام. أذلك القط؟ لا، ذلك الكلب. ما هذا؟ هذا حجر. So here it wants you to write it down like in your own notes, and you want to write it with the vowel marking. So it's kind of like a test to make sure you get the vowel markings correct and to make sure you're adding the correct suffixes. So that's why that is there. And then you'll notice here's something, at the end in a black outlined box. الكلمة الجديدة. So إمام حجر سكر لبن. So these are the 4 new vocabulary words that we learned in lesson 2. So الكلمة الجديدة. إمام حجر سكر لبن. So as you noticed, this lesson is only 2 pages long. So it's pretty short here, and basically it's teaching you ذلك. So you can say this and that, هذا وذلك. And you'll notice it uses a lot of the same constructions as هذا, putting the ma in front of it to say what is, or putting a in front of it to make it a question. And then it also gave you 4 new vocabulary words: إمام, حجر, سكر, and لبن. And it's not to be confused with Lebanon, the country. So, as a funny traditional story on a side note, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings upon him, he did not like harsh sounding names, because in the classical pre-Islamic period, the Arabs, they liked to pick these very, very tough names because it was a society that was, you could say, barbaric, and very war-like. They fought intertribal wars almost constantly. Bloodshed was a constant thing in their life. And, the life in the desert is very hard. If you simply get lost, you will die. You won't find water, you're not going to find food, and you will die. And without the support of your tribe, you will die. Bandits will catch you on the road. Another tribe may kill you for simply entering their territory. So tribal support was a big thing, and this life was very rugged, very gritty, and very tough. So they picked these tough names. One of the names that they used to name people was Abdul Hajar. Abdul Hajar, which means servant of the rock. It's a tough sounding name. I'm Abdul Hajar. I serve the rock. But instead he changed that person's name. He said, no. You become Muslim now, I'm going to name you Abdur Rahman. Abdur Rahman. And this is related to the vocabulary word we learned earlier, Rahmatun, a mercy. So you're Abdur Rahman. You're now the servant of the merciful, meaning God. You're the servant of the most merciful, Abdur Rahman. So that's a traditional story. I thought would be a good end to this second lesson. And I'm going to give you the traditional Arabic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wada'an.